Are you planning a trip to Sequoia National Park? Especially if you're bringing your kids and traveling in an RV, then we will have a bunch of information that you'll want to hear. We cover logistics about getting to the park and getting around the park, especially considering RVs. We'll go through and show you some of our favorite sites and the hikes that we enjoyed. And then we always end by talking about some different RV camping options. So join us today as we go through Sequoia National Park. I always start with logistics and just want to point out, here is California. This is kind of Southern California, so you can see Los Angeles is down here. The Sierra Nevada range is over here in kind of the central part of the state and then along the eastern border. So you have Nevada over here, and here's the Sierra Nevada range. Yosemite's up on the northern end, and then here's Kings Canyon, which shares a border with Sequoia. I'm going to zoom into that. This is a good area map that zooms into this. This is actually on the Sequoia Park map that you get from NPS. You can see here, so Sequoia's on this southern part right here. Kings Canyon is along this side. You do not have any east to west highways that will take you across the Sierras, with the exception of Tioga Road, which is up here in Yosemite, but this is only open in the summer months. If you were coming here in the winter months or spring, really probably till about Memorial Day, you're talking about taking 395 up here to I-80, coming around by Reno, and then working your way to some of these other roads or this Highway 99 to get down in this direction. Or from the south, Bakersfield is just under here a little bit, and so you could be coming, like if you were coming from Vegas or something, you could be coming across along the south by Bakersfield and then work your way up to get into Sequoia. You're not going to be able to access it coming in from 395 without going around quite a ways. Let's zoom into the park now. So this is a high level view of Sequoia National Park here along the bottom. And then you have the Kings Canyon National Park in this area. This is just kind of considered Sequoia Kings Canyon wilderness space. When you're coming in for entrances to the park, you have an entrance down here along the south. That's where we come in, and the video is going to start from this general area. We ended up coming through. We did General Sherman Tree, we did Moro Rock. We'll show you all of that. And then we worked our way, and we did Tunnel Log. And then we worked our way up General's Highway so we could come all the way up to this area and see a little bit of Kings Canyon. I would highly recommend to plan a full day so that you can enjoy Sequoia, and then plan another full day where you can fully enjoy Kings Canyon, because we did not have enough time to do this route where you go along the scenic byway for Kings Canyon. And I hear when you come into this valley, it rivals Yosemite in its beauty. So it really is amazing to see. And we ended up not doing a second day up here because the kids wanted to head to Disneyland for Halloween, and sometimes you have to make those concessions when you have kids. So we did not get to see any more than this general area. We did not get to come up into the byway, but I would suggest doing that if you're coming all the way to Sequoia. What we did do is we came in through the south, we made this drive, and then we came back down 245 because we were camped outside of the park here in Lemon Cove. And I'll talk more about the camping options at the end of the video. The other thing to note is that as you're coming up, this entrance center, it doesn't say on this map, but this visitor center right here is at 1,700 feet in elevation. And when you make just this little stretch over here to Moro Rock, that's at 6,700 feet in elevation. So you're talking about a 5,000 foot elevation gain in going from here to there alone. So what that means is that these little squiggles right here are these massive steep switchbacks that just go back and forth. And because of that, they do not allow vehicles that are over 22 feet in length. So 22 feet in length is all you can have for a vehicle. So you're not bringing your trailers in here. You cannot bring your RV. You're not going to be able to get into the park if you have a big vehicle or a trailer coming in from this side. And quite honestly, you could come in maybe through here. I don't think you'd want to drive any of this with a big RV. You're going to be better off parking outside, keeping the RV there, and then taking either a rental car or a vehicle that you have with you to come in and see the park. And this absolutely is not going to be passable with a recreational vehicle. When you first enter Sequoia National Park, you're going to come to one of the best national park signs that I think they have in the whole system. Then you're going to continue up on General's Highway and keep working your way into the park. You are starting to climb an elevation. You can see that the road has some barriers along the side. You're seeing a bunch of the mountains and stuff off into the distance. And I would say I wouldn't want to drive my RV, period, at this point in time. I think that you technically could still drive your RV at this point in time as long as it's under 30 feet in length, because there is a campground that we're about to pass and come up to. But it would not have felt safe for our larger RV. And we decided just to stay outside of the park and then drive our Jeep in, which worked really well. So you can see you're kind of working your way up and heading up in elevation, and that climb is about to become much more significant. Also, this is just a little 2-lane road. You're not going very fast, so that's what I was saying in terms of the speed and the roads and routes just taking a long time to get through the park. Also, I should mention that we are here the last week of October in 2019. So pre-pandemic, but definitely in fall. So you're going to see a little bit of the fall colors, definitely a bit more dry this time of year, and no snow. Then we drove by the Patwisha campground, which had a mama and baby bear.
We are here in Sequoia National Park, and there is a mama and a cub black bear, if you can see just down the hill there. And you can hear the baby.
It was neat to see the bears, but sad to see them near the campground, because of course that means they're finding food there, and eventually that might lead to problems for the bears. So then you continue the road on General's Highway, and now is when you're starting to get to these switchbacks. So at this point in time, the road is not accessible for vehicles over 22 feet in length. You're doing the switchbacks back and forth, and really climbing in elevation and going up the steep terrain. This isn't even the bad switchback part. I did not actually film that, but trust me, you don't want to do it in your RV. You can see some great mountain peaks in the distance. I don't think you can technically see Mount Whitney from this side, just because it is so far on the east side of Sequoia National Park. If you want to check that out, you want to come in from the Highway 395 access on the east side of the Sierras to see Mount Whitney. And then it doesn't take long and you are into the giant forest area. And the giant forest area is amazing because now you're starting to get into these sequoia groves. This is the area where you're going to find the Big Trees Trail and Crescent Meadow and Moro Rock, and where the General Sherman tree is at. So this is really where you're coming to see these massive sequoia trees, and it's spectacular. Just all these huge trees that are next to you. You almost want to stop and take a picture at every spot, but you can't really stop here on the road. There's a couple of pullouts throughout, but there's going to be plenty of places where you can park and actually get out and hike and walk around these trees. A little bit of fun trivia while you're watching this drive about Sequoia National Park. So Sequoia National Park was established in 1890, and that makes it the second oldest national park, second of course behind Yellowstone. Its lowest elevation is 1,300 feet, so this is a little bit outside of the visitor center, that Foothill Visitor Center. And the highest elevation, of course, is Mount Whitney, which stands at 14,494 feet tall. Did you see that RV just passed by? It's a rental. They should not be up here. Anyway, it is home to more than 1,500 species of plants and many different animals, but obviously what it is most known for are the 30 sequoia groves that are throughout the park. These trees are some of them are over 3,000 years old, and they are the heaviest trees on Earth. You'll then get to the Giant Forest Museum on your right-hand side, and we did not have time to stop here, but if you do stop here, you can find exhibits about the sequoias and their ecology and kind of the relationship between the trees and mankind. So, neat educational thing to see. Instead, we continued to the General Sherman tree. Just right here off the road, you're going to see we go by where the handicap accessible lot is. So if you have handicap plates, you're absolutely going to want to park here, because the general trail that most of us have to take to get down to General Sherman is pretty intense. You have a 200-foot elevation gain, so you're actually going downhill as you head down to the tree, and then you got to make that 200 feet back up. It's only a little bit more than a mile, but it's pretty steep, so trust me, you can feel it. But very cool to be able to head down there and see the General Sherman tree. The General Sherman tree is not actually the tallest tree, nor is it the widest tree, but it's considered the largest living tree in the world because of its volume. So it weighs about 2.7 million pounds, and they believe it's probably a little over 2,000 years old. Its height is about 275 feet, and the circumference at ground level is 102 feet. The diameter on the branches are 6.8 feet, which is just insane. So every year it adds enough wood for a 60-foot tree to measure 1 foot in diameter, which is just insane. So it is a very big tree, and there are other trees on that same path. As you can continue down, there's a bit of a loop that will take you around to see other huge, massive trees. So you can see a lot of different sequoias in this area. And there's even a fallen tree where they have an interpretive sign, and it tells you a little bit more information about the trees. Over by the cross-section tree, there's actually a path that'll take you over to where there's these twin trees next to each other, and one of them has a hollowed out center part to it where you can stand and get a cool picture. So you can see there's a lot of people hanging out right here waiting for the photo op, and we did the same thing. And then that hike back up to the parking lot is no joke, but there are some park benches and places along the way where you can stop and catch your breath and take your time on getting back up there. Then we continued on the road and worked our way over to the area where Moro Rock and Tunnel Log are located. And there's a parking log specifically in that area by Moro Rock. And again, being the end of October, being later in the day, we didn't have any problem with trying to find parking. So Moro Rock is a large granite dome, similar to the same type of thing that you see in Yosemite with Half Dome and El Capitan. It's one of the higher points in the area, at least from your view, and you can climb it and head up a staircase. Part of it's a ramp, part of it's staircase. It is not for the lighthearted though. It's only 0.25 mile, so sounds like nothing, but you will climb 400 steps to get up to the top. But you will have some amazing views when you get all the way here to the top. So it took us, we spent a couple of hours doing this hike, and actually my oldest is not a fan of heights, so we probably made it about halfway, and then she decided it was just a little too steep. You really are pretty exposed on some of the areas, and as you make it all the way to the top of the trail, you're extremely exposed. You're on the top of the dome, and all they have is a little handrail, no foot rail or anything, just a little handrail that's holding you in place. So you can see that my husband was making sure that he was holding onto her hand and keeping her safe as they were up at the top of the rock.
How does it feel?
Good.
Look at this craziness. Epic drop. Stay right next to me, baby. Stay right here, Pumpkin. It's straight off this cliff, Moro Rock. This thing's epic.
You can tell our 6-year-old was really proud she made it to the top, but this is definitely not a hike to take your little kids on just because of safety issues. And it was extremely smoky because they were dealing with wildfires when we were visiting. Of course, that seems to be a common theme in California, so I think it's just par for the course that you're used to wildfires in California in the summer season, so you might have to expect that. Fortunately, we still had some good views. Then we headed over to Tunnel Log, which is a fallen sequoia tree, and they actually carved out a little path so you can drive your vehicle through here if it's small enough. So you wouldn't take like your big vans and stuff, but our little Jeep had no problem getting through here. It's kind of cool to do that and fun for the kids. And then from here we worked our way up the General's Highway over to Kings Canyon so we could catch out a few of the sides before we lost our light. So in terms of camping, this isn't really the kind of national park that is suitable for big rigs. We ended up camping here at Lemon Cove RV Park, which was outside of the park in Lemon Cove, and that was near the Foothills Visitor Center on that southwest side. If you are coming into the park, if you have a smaller RV, and I'm talking less than 30 feet, I think that's the limit, there's that Putwisha, which is where we saw the bears at, and you can stay there. There's also some stuff that's a little bit further up the road, but you would have to access it probably from the Kings Canyon entrance in order to fit your RV there, because you're not going to want to do that switchback mountainside. So ultimately you probably want to stay outside of the park. We have a video review of the Lemon Cove RV Park, so if you want to check that out, then you can see if that looks like that'll be a good fit for your family. I hope this video review was useful for your planning to Sequoia National Park. If you made it all the way to the end and enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, you can subscribe to us for more information about the national parks or traveling with your family and going to various RV places. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at RV Homeschool. Thank you so much for watching.